like to see this. Mark?
Mark does.
Are we sharing the mic? I guess we are. Please join me in the prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love, for it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born into eternal life. St. Francis. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mark. How about a flag salute? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have a song. Anybody got a song?
Oh, yes, I do. I thought it was a four-way test. Anyway.
Oh, let's do the four-way test. Yeah,
Good job, Marty.
Is it true?
Is it fair all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Okay, now about a song.
Now we have a song. I don't need a mic. We are going to do, in the spirit of going back to school, the wheels on the bus. And remember, these are the wheels that go round and round, and it's all over Sedro-Woolley, not town, okay? Ready? The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all over Sedro-Woolley. Yay!
I didn't remember that song, but I picked it up pretty quick. All right, we do have some, at least one visiting. We have a couple of visiting Rotarians today. So, Julia, would you like to introduce our first visiting Rotarian? You can't figure out how to pronounce his name, I bet.
So we have with
We're sharing the mic.
okay. So we have with us today, and we are honored to have some visiting Rotarians. We have past district governor Shan, and he will tell you the full name because as much as I'm into languages, I struggle with that a little bit. So we have a little bit of a story. We were in Stockholm and we stopped by a wonderful little Indian restaurant, and that's how we met Shan.
Good afternoon to all my fellow Rotarians, and I really am happy and I should feel honored that I'm here with my uncle Mr. Panikar and auntie Rama Panikar. They are also representing on behalf of AHA and Eatery and on my family behalf to give some of the gifts to all your members.
And you will
Thank you for the honor given to me.
They are not. Okay, so we'll get to that in just a moment. We have one other Rotarian back here, at least.
I'd like to introduce Dave Courtney, and he's got from the city. He doesn't get up in the morning for the Mount Vernon Morning Club, so he's the Mount Vernon Noon Club. That's when he gets out of bed. But he's got a little something for us.
Hi, I'm here. I am the current PIP for the Mount Vernon Rotary. You know about president-elects and presidents, past presidents, and the immediate past president. I am the past, immediate past president. And what that means is they send me out to visit all of the clubs to sell raffle tickets to our $500 Costco card for our auction on November 9th. And we hope to see all of you there. If you're interested, I have raffle tickets, $20, chances 1 in 100.
Thank you. Any other Rotarian, visiting Rotarian? Now we're at the guests of Rotarian. So you can get up there, Julia. You have a couple of guests. Oh, Mark first.
Okay, President Carl, it's a pleasure to introduce Ian Smith and Rob Janicki that are sitting at our table today to support our speaker on Galbraith Mountain, I believe. It's something to do with that. Thanks.
Shan already did a beautiful job introducing Rama and Paniker, right? Am I pronouncing it correctly? Right? And I just wanted, since I was given the mic, I'll take the opportunity to just say a couple of words. So they go back and forth between Snoqualmie and Kerala, India. And Carl and I had the honor of staying in Kerala when we were working on the project of the 110 toilets, if you remember that presentation. So we loved Kerala and we loved the hospitality of the Cochin Midtown Rotary Club. And so these folks are from there as well. So please welcome them to the club.
Thank you very much.
All right. Any other guests?
All right, I think we're at the point of the meeting where I lost my agenda.
Move adjourned.
All right. So just a couple of announcements. We have a group of Rotarians going to the Burlington Rotary Club evening in Paris. And we have a group that are going to go to the Mount Vernon Rotary Club auction on November 9th at Christ the King. A show of hands, who's going to the Burlington one? Do we know? We had it figured out last week. So that means, Mark, Ben, you're going to the Mount Vernon one, right? On the 9th?
We have 8 people going.
Okay, great, thank you. There's a softball game tonight, and there's a little rain in the forecast, maybe sprinkles, but it doesn't sound like it's gonna be much. So it'll be down at Riverfront Park like we did the last time. And there's about 17 people at least coming from the other 2 Rotary clubs at Burlington and Mount Vernon. And I think we're gonna have plenty of people to get a game, and it should be a great, good time. I'm gonna bring a couple canopies. If any of you have a canopy, bring it. And that way we can, if it does rain, we can kind of hide out under that. And don't forget your softball glove, baseball bat, softball bat, and any softballs that you may have. Let's start warm-ups at about 4:30 and try to get the game going by 5:15, somewhere in that time frame. We'll probably play Sedro-Woolley versus the other 2 clubs, like we did last time, because I think we'll have
The best team.
We'll have not only the best team, but we'll probably have the most players, I'm just guessing. Show of hands, who's gonna go? Anybody? Chad, you're young, you gotta go. Yeah,
It's my wife's birthday, so.
Well, bring her, that's okay. Anyway.
Next year.
Sheehan?
We're taking people to eat at 4:30, so you don't have to play to come.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You don't have to play, you can come and just eat. Mike Janicki's doing barbecue.
Barbecue will be there at 4:15.
Oh.
There'll be food at 4:30.
Yeah.
If it shows up, I don't know who's bringing
And
it.
there'll be food at 6:30 or 7.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, so
correct.
there'll be plenty of food and drink. We are on the hook to bring drinks. Did anybody know that?
My assistant's bringing beverages with me.
Excellent. Okay.
You're going by my house to get it?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect, Bill.
I won't give them the code.
Good.
All right, so if there's any malted beverages that have alcohol content, let's keep it on the down low in a solo cup kind of thing. All right, it is a city park.
Well, we'll have the mayor go with us.
Well, I know, but we want the mayor to get reelected.
But Tucker's gonna wear it.
I want to keep our police chief.
I think we're safe from a couple of drinks.
All right. Okay, this time I'd like to bring our friend Santa up here from India, and you're welcome to bring your guests, and I would like to exchange flags and pleasantries, if you would. Yulia, can you help me with that? So he's the past district governor of District 3000. And is that in the south of India? Yeah.
I belong to Rotary Club of Madurai Central, which was started in 1983, and now we have about 53 members in my club. And on behalf of the President Mahesh and Secretary Singara, let me, on behalf of all the members of Madurai Central, I feel proud to exchange this, my club flag, to.
And with our club.
Yeah, hope this meeting will have a long-term friendship between two clubs.
That's excellent. Proudly display our flag at the Sedro River on Sedro-Woolley, and we're honored to be able to do this today. I'm so thrilled you decided to make the trip, and we absolutely want to help you in a future project if we possibly can. All right, now you have some other things, and I'll just give you the mic and let you go. Here we go.
Once again, I thank President Carl and his spouse, who's also a Rotarian India, for the wonderful opportunity given to me to visit all of you. And as told you, this visit for me here in this club is going to be a long-term friendship, which the Paul Harris, the founder of Rotary, was started for friendship and fellowship. And on behalf of my club, Rotary Club of Madurai Central, my president Mahesh and Secretary Singaram and all the members, they have sent a small gift to all the 97 members of your club. This is a sticker of Rotary, which was made your club's name, Sedro-Woolley, where this sticker can be fixed in your car. It is a reflected sticker. So whoever follows your car, they will know that you are a Rotarian. Place it on the car, then remove it.
Now you had a really good idea for a suggested donation of $10 a piece. If we all do this, we can get a Paul Harris credit for that. Okay? So please take one, and when you get a chance, put $10 in the till towards the foundation, and Steve, our treasurer, can keep track of the money that comes in, and we'll make a Paul Harris out of that. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
And my district governor, R.V.M. Kannan, and his spouse, Sarla Kannan, has sent where I informed that I'm going to attend the meeting of Sedro-Woolley as a gift from the district. He has sent a beautiful shirt for your president with the Rotary theme, Be Inspired. Also a small gift, a t-shirt with a Rotary monogram with your club secretary.
Christine, come on up. You're gonna see there is a benefit to being.
This is a gift from our district. Thank you.
He's not done.
And on my behalf of the family, let me call my uncle Harikar and auntie Rama to adorn a shawl to your president, and we call her as the first lady of the club. If somebody can take a photograph of that, please.
We're on camera.
Yeah, good.
Our whole meeting is videotaped and is on the internet. Okay, here we go. How did you know this was my color?
Because of that, I become the past governor.
You know this even smells like curry.
And this is a small gift. My wife Senthil Kumari, she is also a past president of Rotary Club of Madurai Meenakshi. It's a gift to her sister Julia. And I got the consent from my club as well as my district governor Kannan that they agreed to have a friendship exchange program with Rotary Club of Sedro-Woolley. About 6 to 10 members who are invited to our district, to our club. We will make your stay very comfortable at homes. at Rotarians' homes. You are invited with your family members. To make arrangements to bring you all to our district. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Julia has a traditional wooden carved elephant here. And what is the kind of wood that that's made of?
Yeah, it's a
Typically?
kind of sandalwood, not exactly.
Kind of like sandalwood, okay. Very good. Well, they're very beautiful.
It's really gorgeous. I'm gonna send it so you guys can see. It's carved all around. It's not just the elephant figure. It also has carvings and they're beautiful on the side and on the back.
I have one of those in my office.
Thank you.
From our trip. All right, well, thank you so much. Well, big round of applause again. Keep wearing it, okay, for the rest of the meeting. All right, a little bit about the Friendship Exchange. That's a Rotary program, and we just did one last year to Thailand or Malaysia, and I can't remember which area, but we absolutely can do this, and we can pull members from our club to go and from surrounding clubs. And if we got 6 or 8 or 10 people to go, that would be fantastic. And then in exchange, they come here and visit with us for it's about a 30-day trip. So I think I need help with this shawl. I think I'll have to work on that for later. It seems to be coming on. I need like a safety pin or something. Anyhow, let's move along. Thank you so much. That's really wonderful. Any other announcement? Oh, we do have some more. Chad, you have an announcement about the Brew Fest.
Just a reminder, this Saturday is the Sedro-Woolley Brew Fest. It's supporting the Helping Hands Food Bank and Solutions Center here in town. If you enjoy helping people and drinking beer, great time to come out. Starts at 2 o'clock, runs till 8, and it's going to be a great time. So. And I have tickets here available if anybody wants to buy something today.
Another quick announcement.
Yeah, I have a pleasant announcement and information for you. Last month, the Kerala, they had Onam festival, and in our Hara restaurant, we had a special meal for 3 days for the guests. And the profit, a portion of the profit, and the owners, Panikar, and Rama Panikar, and Mr. Ajay and his wife Ramya, Mr. Bacha, and Sitama, the family run business, they have agreed to donate $5,000 to the flood relief fund. On my request, they are going to send the amount through our Rotary Foundation. This is for your information.
And so this and it just so happens by coincidence that I want to have a board meeting after this meeting. Will take about 1 minute because we're ready to vote up or down to fund a $5,000 contribution towards a global grant, a separate global grant for flood relief in the same area of Kerala. So
Thank you.
Working together.
we didn't even know it.
All right.
Tim Howland, you got equipment.
Just to let everybody know that I've got the basic information on the mentor program at the high school over here and a sign-up sheet. If you're even just interested, want more information, please come over and sign up on the sheet, and I'll get information available to you as soon as we have it all figured out. Okay.
All right. Any other announcements before we go to the new members? Christine.
So on September 29th, that's next Saturday, the Evergreen Booster Club is holding us here at the community center from 5 to 7:30. So everyone is welcome to come and encourage everybody. I will write it on the board and there's my donation. So hope to see some of you there.
All right. And I had Paula.
Yes, for our lunch, the chamber luncheons on the 3rd, one of the things we're going to do is have United Way there, but also we've invited all of the people who have put their names in as freeholders on the ballot. And so there's a lot of them from District 3. I noticed that Rob's here too, and he's on there for District 2. Yeah. But, what we want to do is just inform, so what it'll be is just like they'll each sit at the table and then they'll move around, and that way we get a chance to meet them and decide what you
And you can put it that down on the board, okay? Chuck?
Hey, special thank you to Carl and Yulia, Randy and Becky and Sarah and Zachary and Dasha, Tasha, Dimitri. We had a great Russian dinner this past Saturday. Special spasibo, which is thank you in Russian. It was awesome. We enjoyed some Russian music sung by Yulia and her daughter Dasha. So that was wonderful. Thank you again. But also, in addition to that, thank you again also for bringing in your toiletries, plastic paper bags from grocery stores. And if you have any reading glasses, please bring those in also. The Helping Hand Solution Center is really, really loving it. And they really feel the love and support of the community when we do that, when we do bring in that container full of stuff. So thank you again, you guys.
All right, now I would like to have Mayor Julia Johnson come up. Her sponsor, Yulia Garrison, and we have a real treat today. We have our district governor is going to induct Julia. Our district governor from India is going to induct Julia into the club. So, here we go.
President Garrison, fellow Rotarians and guests, good afternoon to everyone. It's indeed an honor to induct Julia Johnson as the newest member of Sedro-Woolley Rotary Club. The mission of Rotary is to provide service to others, promote high ethical standards, and advance both understanding, goodwill, and peace through its fellowship with business, professionals, and community leaders. We are not a political organization, but we are dedicated to the practice of good citizenship. We are not a charitable organization, but we are dedicated to the helping our fellow man. We are not a religious organization, but we are dedicated to the ideals of morality and high ethical standards. We bring together our individual skills, resources, and qualities of leadership to improve the quality of life for people not only in our local communities, but also in communities around the world. You, Julia Johnson, you have been chosen for membership into the Rotary Club of Sedro-Woolley because the Rotarians of this club feel that you possess the qualities of leadership in your field, the qualities of personal contact, the willingness to share those qualities of personal contact, all directed towards the pursuance of Rotary's mission. It has been said that when Sedro-Woolley Rotarian is asked to perform, the answer is yes. President Garrison, fellow Rotarians and guests, please join me in welcoming Julia Johnson, the newest member of Rotary Club of Sedro-Woolley, and from today onwards, she will be called as Rotarian Julia. I'm honored.
You got a really special one. You don't get inducted by a past district governor every day. This is really great. And this is such a great example of how Rotary permeates it's all over the world. And here we have just a small example of that. The same principles that we have here in Sedro-Woolley are practiced in India. So wonderful. Welcome, Julia. Have a great Rotary time for the rest of your
Rotary time.
Only the rest of your life. How about that? All right. Any other announcements? If not, do we have a raffle?
Hello, it's fresh.
Louis, you gotta hold up the fish.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
Oh.
You hold it, you pick it
It's in
up.
this box. Do you want to look at it? Oh, Louis gonna do it.
Hey.
Here, Louis. And you know, that fish next to Louis looks really big. Come on. $75. There's a 75. Do we have an 80? Do we have a, let's go by 10, 90. Do we got 90? Come on, we're in a hurry, guys.
It's even clean.
90. It's clean, it's ready to roast. Come on, we're at 80. Nobody's at 90? Does that mean 90? Did you just raise your hand? Oh, come on. Come on. Okay, we're down at 80. Oh, we got 100 right here. Somebody want to be the 100?
Right here, I got $100.
He already got it.
You said 90, I said 100.
Okay, we got 100. Going once, twice. So, to Carl.
Okay.
Okay, real quick here. This is a very popular month for anniversaries, but we did have one, and the lucky little couple is over here. And would you like to present this to your residents and say some lovely words?
I would. So, Gwen and I met about 32 or 33 years ago. This is our 31st anniversary. We met in Pensacola, Florida. And I want to share kind of our first real date when I was going to show her how country boys did things, and took her on a fishing trip down in Florida to show her I knew what I was doing. And ended up sinking the van in a lagoon and wandering around the Florida swamps for a couple hours. And her face was bitten by mosquitoes, but she stuck with me, and I'd like to say I've had better days since, but I'm not sure that's true. So.
A red rose that somebody can purchase to make somebody really happy. It can be anybody. Does anybody want to purchase this red rose? Come on. Come on. All right. Okay. And because we are running severely behind, and this doesn't work, can everybody just chip in a buck for the Sergeant of Arms so we can get to our guest speaker, because they are busy people and we're behind. Oh, do we have a happy back real fast? Oh, good.
I'm happy to be back from my jaunt to Mongolia. My fishing trip was sort of a combination of a river runs through it and deliverance. I did bring some stuff from the hotel in Mongolia to Ulaanbaatar. I'll bring it next week, and I'm happy to be home. Also, I'm happy I'm picking up my new puppy this afternoon.
Hello, Carl the Young Funk on Chad's presentation on Brewfest. I have 8 tickets at the reduced price of $25. Now, store they are $35. Come see me for $25 tickets for Brewfest. Thank you.
Any other happy things? No? Okay.
Thank you, Marty. Shan, I would be honored if you could cook that fish back we're at the restaurant. If you could take the fish, could you take the fish as a gift of our appreciation? Please? If you can use it, you got to be able to use it quickly.
Yeah, how much we should pay for it?
No. It's already been paid for.
Okay.
It's our gift to you.
Thank you.
And actually, I seem like I'm maybe really generous, but it's a friend of mine who I'm trying to get into the club gave me $100 at another auction because he just couldn't spend enough. And I said, I can't take your money, but I'll donate it to Rotary. And so that's where it came from. It came from a friend, Jeremy Haley, and his wife, Vanessa. And hopefully someday we'll see them in the club. They're from Day Creek. So anyway, with that, I think we are ready for our program. And if you're an early leaver, you have 1 minute to exit stage left. And I'd like to introduce Rob Janicki to come on up, and Eric Brown. Oh, Eric? Okay, Rob's going to let you go solo.
All right, okay.
Here we go.
I'll fly solo. So thanks to the Rotary of Sedro-Woolley. Thank you all for having me. My name is Eric Brown. I'm the trail director for the Walking Mountain Bike Coalition. I'll tell you a little bit more about us here in a second. Our mission is to preserve and enhance non-motorized trail access in Washington County. And we also do work in Skagit County as well. If anybody's recreates on Blanchard Mountain, we do a bunch of trail work on Blanchard, and I'm on the Blanchard Strategies Committee as well, with Mike's wife, Lisa Jackson. A little bit about WBC. We started as a group called the WIMPs. The WIMPs was an acronym that stood for the Whatcom Independent Mountain Peddlers. We changed our name to the WBC about 2010, 2011. We do trail days, about 40 organized trail days a year. That's actually bumped up quite a bit this past year because we have a bunch of projects going on. We put in well over 7,000 hours a year of volunteer service. A little bit about Galbraith Mountain. So this is a little bit talking about, my conversation will be talking about working with recreation and in an active working forest. So Galbraith Mountain is 2,800 acres in total. It's got 2 owners. Rob is one of the owners. Polygon Company out of Bow owns the other part of it. It adjoins the city, county, and other private lands. It's actually flanked on 4 sides. I say 3 sides here, but it actually has a 4th neighborhood that actually does on called Seven Valley. Everybody's familiar with that. We have 65 miles of non-motorized trail currently, and conveniently it's aimed at a pedal from my house. To give a little indication on where Galbraith is, here's Bellingham Bay, City of Bellingham, Baker in the background, Lake Whatcom, Stewart Mountain, and there's Galbraith right there. So this is all what's called the U3 neighborhood. Lakeway goes up along this way, and then it's got Sandwich Way. For anybody here to get, if you wanted to get to Galbraith Mountain, you would go up I-5, you would take the Sandwich Way exit to go to by Lake Patton, and it's actually north and east of Lake Patton for anybody who's been to Patton before. This kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of how dense the trail network is on Galbraith. Check. On how dense the trail network is on Galbraith. All these red squiggly lines are all trails all over the mountains, so you can kind of see how many trails are on there. This is a zoom in to show you the density again. How dense the trails are. This is actually a real old map, and that density has actually increased because there's more trails on the mountain today. So a little bit about Galbraith. Galbraith is nationally recognized as a mountain bike destination. This is a national website called singletracks.com, and Galbraith for 4 years in a row has been named the #1 mountain bike destination most popular in Washington State.
You look smart.
This is an app called TrailForks. TrailForks is an application you put on your phone. It also has a website, and on there, it's actually an international application. So mountain bikers use it all around the world. For Washington State, 4 of the 5 top trails in Washington State are on Galbraith Mountain. The other one's up down at Tiger Mountain, down near Issaquah. So who recreates on Galbraith? Mountain bikers, of course, because we built the trails over the last 32 years. Trail workers. This is a group of gals that run every morning at 8:30 a.m. They have a pretty funny name I'm happy to give to you in private. But they're an awesome group of gals, and there's about 30 to 40 of them, and they run together. Usually there's a group of probably about 20 of them at 8:30 every Saturday. Kids, lots of kids. This is a group called the Trailblazers. Who come up to the mountain. They sometimes do work, but oftentimes they're just out going for hikes or runs. Equestrians. So we have a handful of equestrians that live along the property, and they use the trails pretty regularly. This is Rosemary Bowes. Rosemary is a professor at Western, and she rides her horse Griffin on the mountain pretty much 2 or 3 days a week. Families, lots of kids. This is Arthur and Sophia right there. Dad and his son. Shameless plug, that's my wife Courtney and my daughter Cleo. Cleo's first grader and a 7-year-old. So a little bit about our stewardship. Again, there's my daughter digging in the dirt. We're in her Carhartt overalls. Lots of kids out digging on our trails. So a little bit about our stewardship on Galbraith. Up until recently, we had a recreational use agreement. We now have a different agreement with I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But we maintain 65 miles of trail. Majority of the trails are multi-use and utilized by bikers, runners, hikers, dog walkers. There is about a quarter of the trails are bike specific, so that's intended to avoid trail conflicts. So you ride down trails and runners and hikers and bikers aren't going up those trails. They're actually directionally designed to be downhill. We do weekly coordination with Janicki Logging, with Mike's company and his folks. That coordination really started with Patrick. I don't know if anybody here knows Pat, but Pat and I worked together for 7 years, and that really created a kinship. Pat and I became good friends, and so we really kind of worked hand in hand with each other when they were out there doing timber harvest activity. We carry a liability policy because there is inherent risk in mountain biking, and so it makes the landowners feel a little better about knowing that, you know, what crazy kids and crazy adults are up there doing. So we do carry a liability policy, and we have a program called Trail Adoption Program we call TAP. So real quick on how we do our trail design, we do it to meet modern and sustainable standards. There are still some trails out there that are kind of older design, and we constantly come back and readjust those and reroute those, but we've been tackling those over the last several years. We take care of all the blowdown and widowmakers. We do inspections on our bridge work and all of our structures and features. And then we do a lot of work to make sure that the trails are running well, because when you're riding a mountain bike, you don't want to be riding through mud all the time. And I don't know if you guys know about this, but it rains a little bit here in Washington State and Western Washington. So we do a lot of work to make sure the trails drain well and ride well. We're mostly volunteer. I'm the only full-time employee, actually. We have a quarter-time education director and an office manager who's quarter-time. We build the Whistler standards and NVIC guidelines. Like I said earlier, we have single-use directional trails for varying abilities, and that's basically to avoid conflict, because last thing you want when you're riding a mountain bike is to come up fast on a horse or a dog walker or my daughter or somebody along those lines. We also utilize a lot of the cedar blowdown and remnant harvest materials for our bridging and features, and that saves us a lot of time and effort, and we're pulling those out of clear cuts when they blow down or when they blow down out of in the woods. So what we do is we use cedar from those blowdown for that. And then, as I said earlier, we adjust and reroute as needed. That happens actually pretty regularly. Prior to 2002, Galbraith, if you grew up in Bellingham or in northern Skagit County, that was the spot where you went for your high school caters. That's the spot where you went and dumped your garbage. That was the spot where there's a big party spot for Bellingham youth. And so we go up, and we've been over the last decade, we've been cleaning up the mountain from the previous dumping sites. These are old water heaters and freezers and car doors. You can see this is from like a 74 Plymouth Roadrunner that was dumped in the woods, and we've been slowly but surely parting that thing apart and taking it out of the mountain. So we did that. This is on Earth Day a year ago. So we filled 2 dumpsters with metal scrap and also garbage. Our youth programs are really what kind of has been setting us apart in the last few years. We have after-school mountain bike clubs. We have 13 of those now. I help lead my daughter's school. She's a first grader, and we had 21 kids in our mountain bike club last year. We do bike rodeos, which teach you safety and how to ride a bike. We have a middle school program called Youth Trail Corps, where we get local middle schoolers, and they actually have adopted a trail on Galbraith, and we actually take them out. They actually learn how to build trail, and we're trying to get that next generation of stewards and trail builders and people who are going to maintain the trails moving forward, going with that. And then we have middle and high school service learning projects. So every middle schooler in Bellingham has to do a service learning project, and that's 6 weeks. And so we get a lot of middle schoolers that come up as part of their service learning project. And then we have a race team in Whatcom County, and then we do Eagle Scout projects as well. That can be everything from building kiosks to actually building a new trail. So this is a little shameless plug. This is my little group of first graders and second graders in the Roosevelt Bike Club, and that's my daughter in the middle right there. So we have 13 after-school programs. That's going to be moving to 15 this year. So we'll be having 15 after-school bike clubs. This is our service learning, our riding rodeos. We set up a skills course at their elementary school, and we come out for the day, and they get to ride a bike. Sometimes that's the first time some kids have ever ridden a bike ever. So it's pretty interesting when my daughter's been riding bikes since she's 3. It's kind of part of our family. We ride bikes everywhere, whether it's mountain biking or around town. And you go to some of these schools, and some of these kids don't have resources to do that. So they've never been on a bike, and so we go to the school and we set up this course, and they some of them ride bikes for the first time ever. This is our trail corps. This is on the trail that David adopted on Galbraith. A bunch of middle schoolers and high schoolers, and a great group of kids. They're continuing on with this program this year. Most of them are staying on. Some of them have gone on to high school, and we're trying to keep it a little younger, the middle school demographic. So That's our race team right there. Evan Ritchie, who teaches in Ferndale at Windward High School. He's the teacher that leads that program for us. These guys race all around the state. And then we do a bunch of bike camps. There's bike camps on the mountain. Usually every week or so, there's groups of kids that are out there biking. So a little bit about how recreation and working forests can flourish. A lot of people, especially if you're a forester or a logger, you may think that's the opposite of what you would want to have in your woods. But first and foremost, I think private landowners need to know that the recreation use statute covers you if you're not charging somebody to recreate on your land. So basically, if somebody crashes on their bike or even trips and falls, and you're not charging them to recreate on your property, that recreation use statute covers you. First of all, and then the other thing is, you partner with a trail organization. The Janikes have a lot of trust and faith, and there's a symbiotic relationship in our organizations, and we work really well together. We use trail building best practices to mitigate risk. As I said, mountain hiking is an inherently dangerous sport, so you want to try to minimize that as much as possible, the risk. And we have really good signage, and then communication between the two organizations. Like I said, our organization and our relationship with Janike really flourished with Patrick and myself coming together and seeing how we can work together as organizations. And then that's continued with Rob and Ian as well. So just to give an idea, there's a lot of harvest activity on the mountain. There's days where there's literally hundreds of people on the mountain, and there's also feather bunchers going on, and there's forwarders are running. There's lots of activity on the mountain. But how do we keep that from becoming a liability or a safety hazard? So lots of coordination that happens between us and the WMBC, with Janike and WMBC, and so. We basically talk about timber plans, we talk about when things are going on. I shut the trails down, I reopen them, we come back and rebuild them, usually better than they were prior. And we do a lot of things to really make sure that it's as safe as possible. And then on the harvest end, whenever possible, Janike's, operators or loggers will cut trees away from the trails to try to do less damage to the trails. And they go above and beyond to really make sure that they're doing less damage to the trails. Sometimes it's impossible, and that's a reality. Sometimes trails are going to get beat up, or they're going to get sometimes destroyed, but they do as much as they can to try to work with us. And we talk about the machines do try to minimize where they cross trails with their machines. They sometimes provide excavators or some machinery to help clean up some of the stuff. We also have a mini X, so we do a lot of cleanup with my machine as well. And they do a lot to keep the roads in really good shape as well, because they need to get their trucks around the mountain. These are the sorts of things that Janike does on our behalf. Their drivers are very courteous. They drive slow. They're trying to minimize dust. They're trying, they're real courteous to the mountain bikers and the hikers and runners. And then they're doing stuff. They're communicating with each other on CV to let folks know that there's a group of bikers coming up the road or whatever. And then we do a lot where we notify people on the typical social media stuff, website, Instagram, Facebook, email. And then we put signage up at all the kiosks around the mountain to warn about where harvest activity is taking place. So here's an idea, right? So they're doing some spraying, right? There's a clear cut, they're prepping for planting. So I let folks know that, hey, there's going to be aerial spraying going on, and then we'll shut that whole section of the mountain down. We don't even let people go. Sometimes we just close the whole mountain down. That just happens because if they're doing some spraying or something's going on, we'll just close the mountain down for a day. It's not that big of a deal. Here's something about some logging that's happening. And I mark which trails are being impacted because, again, I know that information up front from the Janikes. I throw a map up on which trails are going to be adjusted or going to be impacted during harvest. Here's a stack of logs you can see right here, and right next to a road with mountain bikers on it. And this was a stack before they obviously hauled the trees off. But they had just finished harvest activity, had just loaded them up, and we had like a week between when they were hauling the trees off and when they finished cutting. And so we reopened that road in that area for that week. And then when they came back in, they were working during the weekdays. We were closing that area down during the week. And then this is what we do during post-harvest. So this is an area that just got harvested. We come back in, we rebuild the trails. This is on a trail called Mullet. And this was quite a while ago, but this is what we do. We get a bunch of volunteers out, we clean them up, we get the trails reopened. And then this is what we do with the remnant cedar. This is a cedar bridge on a trail called Keystone. And all this revenue came off of Galbraith. This is all cedar that was basically blow down either in clear cut or in parts of the woods, and then the stuff that we split right there are the remnants, the butts of the cedar that they can't use because all the hardwood's rotten out. So they leave those, and they actually sometimes set those off the side of the road for us. Here I am building a cedar bridge on a trail called Gate and Switch a couple years ago. So long term, this is where we are now. I don't know if anybody has read the article that Rob brought, but we, Gulliver Tree Farm, Walker Land Trust, City of Bellingham, and us all partnered on easements that are going to secure access to the mountain forever. Prior to August, when the deal closed, our relationship with the owners, with Rob and also then the previous owners, was month to month. So it was a 30-day window. So most people were unaware that we, at any point in time, the mountain could have been closed. Now, I'm not saying Rob would have closed the mountain down in 30 days, but that uncertainty really was not great for us. And we really wanted to make sure that not only the access, but all this hard work and time that all of our volunteers have put together was saved. So we partnered with those guys. We got a conservation easement, we got a recreation easement. So that does two things for us. It allows access to the mountain for the public forever, and it ensures that Rob has given up his development rights. So even though that whole area is currently zoned commercial forestry, Bellingham's creeping up that mountain and creeping up towards Galbraith, and it's growing, and it's just a matter of time before zoning laws would have changed. So what we did is Rob actually forfeited his development rights on the mountain, so there will be no development. It will remain a working forest. So that's living wage jobs. That's keeping the forestry industry close to Bellingham, and so we have that. So what we're working on now that we have secured this access is we're now working on a future parking lot. So our current parking lot holds 30 cars. If people park like responsible adults, which is rarely the case, and overflow ends up on Santa Fe. On some days, it's not uncommon to have people parking a mile down the road on the shoulder, and that's dangerous for trail users, it's dangerous for road cyclists, it's dangerous for other motorists. So there's no restrooms, there's no sightlines. So so this is the parking lot right here, as it is, and the new parking lot's going to start right here, go right here. It's going to expand it all the way here and go this way. The current parking lot holds 30 cars. The new parking lot is going to hold 140 cars. So we're starting a capital campaign for that starting on October 13th. So we've already got a whole crew assembled. That's our new design right there. That are one of our. So we have a lot of members who have professional services. This is done by one of our members, J.B. Slagle, who is a civil engineer. So he's already drawn up our plans for us. We're already in permitting processes, and then we've got a whole team assembled. So we've got the general manager of Ram Construction, for instance, Barry Dykeman is a biker, J.B. Slagle, John Hansen. This is our whole team that's already been assembled for this parking lot. And this is what it's all about for us, having fun on a bike or getting out on the trail, and getting kids out on the trails. And that's Northern Heights Elementary School right there at a bench on Arch Trail. So that's about it. Thank you very much.
You wore a microphone.
Wait. So, any questions for you?
Yeah, don't go anywhere. I want you to ask questions.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I have a gift for you here.
And Rob, I don't know if you have anything to say, Rob.
You did great.
So here's a pen from the Sedro-Woolley, the greatest Rotary Club in the universe.
Thank you very much.
And hopefully you can ink a deal with Rob for that future preservation with it.
Oh, well, we already did it, and it's a done deal, so I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, so we got some questions. Here you go.
Yes, sir.
If a person or a group of friends decided they'd like to use those trails, are they free to just go out there and start using them? Or
They are.
Do they have to get permission from somebody?
No, they're absolutely free. There's access. There's several key points for access. The south side is where we're going to put the parking lot. There's the north side of the kind of off of Lakeway, which is called the Walker Falls neighborhood. We got access from there. Most of the neighborhoods surrounding them have access points on the mountain. It's 100% free, and that's actually kind of the key cornerstone of what I was talking about with regards to recreation and immunity, is that if you charge for access, if you're a private or public landowner and you charge for access, you then open yourself up to liability, and the recreation and immunity statute doesn't cover you then. So it's 100% free. We don't charge for access. And runners, hikers, dog walkers, mountain bikers, and equestrians are using the trails right now as we speak.
Thank you.
Yep.
You you may have said this, but I missed it, and I'm sorry if I did. Where does your funding come from? Is it just like campaigns?
So we are about 85% funded by our members. So members, we have a membership drive at the end of every year. We have a couple fundraisers. Our big fundraiser is coming up on October 13th. It's a video and photo contest that has 800 people at that event. And local people shoot videos, and then we have a contest at the event, and they also shoot photos, and then the people at the event get to vote on those, both the videos and the photos. And that's our biggest fundraiser of the year as well.
That's great. I would encourage you to ask Rotary clubs for assistance when it makes sense.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mark.
Eric, I think that what you're doing is awesome. I've been up there with Mike on Galbraith when the logging's taking place, and to see the mountain bikers and the loggers working together is really commendable. I think the emphasis here, I think people need to realize, this will become, or is, public access forever, right?
Right, correct.
There's no limitations on when this will end and become a housing development. This will be maintained open to the public forever. Is that correct?
That's correct. This access and the conservation easement, which ensures no new development goes into perpetuity.
But you get to take the logs periodically, right?
Yep, yeah, it remains a working forest, which was really important for us. We actually have this really great symbiotic relationship with the logging company, with Janicki, and the reality is the working forest allows us to kind of make changes to the trails. It keeps it more dynamic. You know, some of the trails were built 25 years ago, and riding has changed, and the mountain bike technology has changed, so it's allowed us to actually come back to these trails with fresh sets of eyes and fresh sets of the way we all ride our bikes differently. I know when I started 25 years ago, I rode my mountain bike much different than we do now, and much even different than my 6-year-old does. So trails were different, and technology has changed, and people ride differently.
I just have a comment. I've been peer pressured to get a mountain bike. I too hadn't ridden it in about 20 years. And I think it was Mullet I'm looking at. The new ones kind of buck you like a horse. I took a little spill last weekend, but thank you. We actually have a lot of group of our friends. They can work from home, and they're actually moving to Bellingham for Galbraith Mountain so they can make a mountain bike. I can think of at least 5 people that are high-income earners that are moving to town, working from home, so they can be close to the work you've done. So
Thanks.
great job.
Yeah, well, we have 11 bike shops in Bellingham. We have our 3rd bike manufacturer is moving up in Seattle. So we have Kona, we have Transition, and then a company out of Seattle is building a 23,000 square foot building in Fairhaven right now, and that's called Evil Bikes. And Evil's moving their company up from the Soto, Georgetown area south of Seattle up to Bellingham. They're building like I said, a 24,000 square foot building right down there by kind of down Harris Street as you go down Fairhaven before you get to the water. So it's a big industry in Bellingham. It's who can compete with it. It's either more breweries or more bike shops. It's like 13 to 11 right now. I think it's 13 breweries, 11 bike shops. And it's not a coincidence. A lot of mountain bikers drink beer. I'm just saying that's not a coincidence.
So I also wanted to just say thanks for doing this. So growing up around here, I sometimes today feel like we live in the most beautiful part of the world, and it's hard to get access to any of it.
Yeah.
Because so much of it has been shut off, and so I commend this all. This is amazing. So my question for you is, do you think maybe this could set the tone for other large tracts of land going forward?
So yes, I mean we have this weird kind of dichotomy where with public landowners, especially the Department of Natural Resources in Whatcom County, we've been butting heads with them for a long time. We finally got a planning process going with them 2.5 years ago, and we're moving forward with some future development with the Department of Natural Resources. That kind of took a cultural shift a little bit with their foresters, because they all view recreation, or the previous foresters viewed recreation as really an encumbrance. And if you ask Rob, for instance, you know, he walks all of our trails, and he actually sees the age of the stands, and he can actually, instead of bushwhacking through, you know, really thick brush, he or Mike can actually walk all of our trails, and they get access to all these stands that they wouldn't have access to or easily have access to. So in some ways it actually works better. The other aspect is we police it. So you don't have meth labs going in, you don't have grow ops, you don't have people dumping garbage, you don't have all this other uninvited stuff that happens. When you have good things happening on your property, all that other stuff goes away. And I know they have other tree farms where that does still happen on their other tree farms.
And then like what you said is access is key, because without that access you can't build trails, and we really are really trying to gain more and more access for our community, not just mountain bikers, but walkers, runners, hikers, and equestrians. So we work with all those groups, and without that access you can't have.
One last question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just want to make a couple quick points. If Mike and Rob were in shape, they could ride their bikes instead of walking.
I got an electric bike.
Now, Joe, I just want to point out that because they're able to log, they're able to maintain all those roads at no cost to the bike owner. And when you look at all these fees that all these other places charge, it's because there's no logging or anything. So done environmentally correct, it's a win-win for everybody. Like there's logs for the mills, and then there's maintenance that the public doesn't have to pay for. And then the only other thing is that Rob and I were berry picking there with Katie and some other people, and Katie had to take a pee out in the woods. And so she went, I said, well, just go down the road here and go out here. And I was supposed to watch, and I watched 8 bikers just zip right by me. So I did my job.
Well, thank you very much, Gary. Really appreciate it.
One point about that, though, by the way, is that the roads are helpful for us because we do all our access. A lot of our access or our maintenance is done because I'm driving my truck all over the mountain, and that road access is really important for how efficient and how effective we are as a maintenance trail maintenance organization and trail building organization. So it's important to us as well. So thank you all.
Thank you very much. The board members would stick around for a 1-minute meeting. Also, if you want to get to know our guest, Stan, and his guest from India, please stick around. We'll be here for a little while yet, and we got to adjourn, so it's got to be.
On behalf of our RI director, C. Bhaskar, who belongs to my district, belongs a member of Rotary Club of Rotary Club of Karur, and his spouse Mala joins me in sending the wishes to the members of Rotary Club of Sedro-Woolley.